that you have the power to call for further information to consider the referral in its totality. Now you've got the flimsy A1 statements in the various dockets, and you have this January 6th affidavit. At that point, you now have a total picture. You must make a call on that Section 27. Does it now bring you within Section 7 of the Act? Does it bring it within the jurisdiction of IDAC? And I'm suggesting to you that considered collectively, you can't even get into Section 7A, capital A, sub A. That's a first. So it's only because it's only once you are in that, you then determine whether, because what you are headed for now is to trigger a preliminary to determine whether to investigate. You are not in full investigative mode yet. Correct. You are not intruding into people's lives and their private affairs. It's a preliminary investigation or preparatory investigation that informs whether or not to conduct, because it could potentially end at 2813, and the response coming back is that no, we won't go any further. So that's a second step. Correct? Are you with me? Now, when does the 2813 step end? What must you have? Must you have the full picture of all the crimes that you have alluded to in your authorization of Section 2813 before you authorize a further investigation? The levels of investigations have to be different, I would assume.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, what must you obtain in terms of 2813 to help you determine whether to conduct a full-blown investigation?
You must have enough evidence that there are reasonable, that the suspicions are reasonable and that there are reasonable grounds on which to conduct that full-blown investigation. There must be sufficient evidence collected in the 2813 process. It is then, Commissioners, that there is an evaluation thereof and whether or not to move into. So the 2813 Council does allow for quite a few investigative mechanisms, and so whilst it is a preparatory investigation, you are able to issue summonses, conduct search and seizures, etc., in order to move into that kind of investigative phase and therefore to collect evidence to make the determination on whether or not there are reasonable grounds to move into a full investigation.
Advocate Johnson, I just want to understand whether you are of the view that your Section 2713 discretion is unfettered. I do see the words, if you as the ID consider it necessary, you may then institute the preliminary investigation. Is that discretion unfettered in the sense that it depends purely on what you consider necessary, regardless of the circumstances?
I do not believe it's an unfettered. It is based on the.
Oh, yes, yes.
Sorry, it is based on the information that is presented, as was the case with the team, in terms of how they assess and briefing me on that. It's not it's not an unfettered.
Oh, no, continue.
No. Maybe if
okay.
Chair makes a follow-up point, maybe I might be able to clear
yes, I want you to, just for a moment, for me to understand as a matter of law what the fetters are. If you say it is not unfettered, I want, as a matter of law, to understand what those fetters are. Can you give them to me without reference to the facts that we have here? Because what you just did in your last answer was to refer to what happened here. So, as a matter of law, what exactly would fetter the exercise of your discretion?
So, the there would have to be, as we indicated in the section 27, are there reasonable grounds to suspect that an offense has been committed, the grounds on which it is based, and additional information. In the main, that is what one considers. And any other additional information could then be whatever else they've brought to the fore. And I say that that is what determines it in terms of the discretion on whether or not to move. Sorry, Chair. Also, if we had asked for additional information in order to augment the Section 27, whatever that may have been. And that guides the discretion whether or not, given what we have, it is not sufficient for a reasonable suspicion, but there is sufficiency, and so we can go ahead and conduct a preparatory investigation in order to arrive at.
So absent that reasonable suspicion, if I understand you correctly, you cannot begin to do a 2713 preliminary investigation. So that's the reasonable suspicion is your entry point to 2713, you say?
To the 2813.
2813, I'm very sorry.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
On that score, at file 8, the documents you provided yesterday, file 8, page 3288.
Sorry. Do I still need to keep the exhibit bundle at hand?
Which one, ma'am?
The one where we were going through Fadil Adams' affidavit, the additional affidavit? Close at hand but not open?
Close at hand, but yes, not open. At 3288, apologies. The document goes as far as 3300, and I see it's dated the 30th day of May 2025. Do you see that?
I've got that.
Okay. Now, if we go back to 3288, this is an application for an investigation in terms of Section 28(1).
That is correct.
So that suggests to me that now we are past the 2813 preliminary investigation.
And that investigations were conducted and further evidence would have been obtained between the period 6 December 2024 to the date of this matter.
If I understand the provisions of Section 2813 is that you conduct some preliminary investigations to determine whether to have a Section 28 investigation.
Correct.
And I take it what we have at 3288, we're at a point where now we are applying for an authorization to investigate in terms of Section 28(1).
That is
so
correct.
the true investigation now starts.
Correct.
Am I understanding it correctly? And that application is made on the 30th of May, 2025.
That is correct.
And as we know, on the same date, at page 3304,
Sorry, 33?
3304, same file. Three 3304 is designations in terms of Section 28(2)A. So you are designating a team in this matter
That is correct.
for the investigations.
For the investigation and prosecution.
Yes. And this team is established, designated by you on the 8th of August 2025. If you look at 3306.
The designations on 3302
Yes, ma'am.
are the designations dated the 30th of May 2025.
Yes.
Yes,
No. 33?
03,
Yes.
yes.
I'm now at 3304.
This would have been where additional persons would have come onto the team afterwards, but the original designation council is on 3303. So the commissioners, the 28 is signed on the 30th of May,
Yeah. Okay.
and the designation for the persons who are to deal with it are on 3303.
I accept your point, correct? So the first designation is 3302, that's dated the 30th of May 2025.
That is correct.
The document I looked at, you say, was adding to the
Yes.
designated
So,
team
as
in
happens-
August.
As happens in all matters, if you add persons to an investigation, regardless of who they may be, you must designate them to the investigation.
I'm with you. I accept
And
that. Thank
would,
you.
just for context for why there is a later one.
Thank you for that clarification. Then,
Sorry, I think Commissioner Kumalo has a...
oh, yes, please.
I think it's confusion more than anything. I had understood during your first day of testimony that the designated investigator came to you in February to say, please authorize summons so that we can get these documents in relation to the generals that appear in those summonses, and that was sometime in February. There was also a summons that went to BMW again in February. Now, they could not do that unless they were designated as investigators, because for them to say, I need to go into BMW and get documents and interview BMW people, because that's what the summons said. And that was all in the first or second week of February. That can only mean there must have been an earlier designation appointing them as investigators, because if the designation only happens at the end of May, what were they doing talking to BMW management in February of 2025 and interviewing senior managers at BMW in February 2025? So do you see why I'm lost?
May I explain? So, Commissioner Kumalo, when the Section 2813 preparatory investigation was authorized on the 6th of December, it also designates persons to the investigation. And because they are designated to that preparatory investigation, they are able to conduct investigations.
May I assist? Please answer that question with reference to page 3282. Same file. You say when the Section 2813 preliminary investigation is authorized, it also designates persons who should conduct the investigations. And that is the document we discussed from yesterday. That is your authorization.
Yes.
And it's followed by 3285.
Yes.
You say that's a designation in terms of 2813. Is that the document you reference?
That is
Dated the
correct.
6th of December 2024.
That is correct.
With those documents, then you may respond to the Commissioner's question.
On page 3286, Commissioner Kumalo, is the list of persons that were designated on the 6th of December, so that there are persons designated to conduct investigations. And as I indicated, Section 2813 does allow you investigative processes, including being able to interview a witness, subpoena documents, and so on.
So there were two designations / authorizations.
Yes, the first being preparatory and Once that is summarized and done, they then bring together the May application.
Advocacy law covered, thank you.
Thank you.
Have I clarified it, Commissioner?
You have, thank you.
While I hope you have your act close by, my reading of 2813, why do you suggest it requires a designation? When I read 2813 with 28 sub 2 sub A, I draw a distinction, whereas it's 28 sub 2 sub A, that requires you to designate people to investigate. But that's a full-blown investigation now. 2813 doesn't do so, and if anything, it just simply says you, the investigating director, may hold a preparatory investigation. I accept, for present purposes, that you may delegate that power. But it doesn't require you to establish a whole team of people to investigate. It's preliminary.
I understand what you're saying,
Yes.
Counsel. But out of practice, we do designate persons to the investigation, preparatory or otherwise, or else it'll go back to Commissioner Baloyi's point of you have people running around on fishing expeditions and doing as they please. And how do we account for what was done, who did it? Back to Commissioner Kumalo's question of how do you have people interviewing senior persons, etc. It is the designation assists in identifying persons to be able to conduct the activities that that team determines are for investigation. We have always done
Yes.
a designation for both, so that there is accountability and there's responsibility for the activities and for the actions.
And I'll tell you perhaps where that designation in terms of 2813 gives me challenges. We have now agreed that you authorized a formal Section 28 investigation on the 30th of May.
That is correct.
That's when the investigation starts.
Incorrect.
Tell me.
So Section 2813 is a preparatory investigation. It allows you to take statements. It allows you to interview persons. It allows you to subpoena documents in terms of Section 28.6, which is what you would see the investigators had done.
Let's deal with that issue with reference to the wording of 2813. 2813 allows you, as the investigating director, it specifically singles you out, advocate, to hear evidence to enable you to determine if there are reasonable grounds to conduct an investigation. So it's a process to enable you to make a decision whether or not to investigate. Correct?
Correct.
Now, we know that on the 6th, you started the preparatory investigation, and by the 30th, you say there is sufficient material to conduct an investigation. So the actual investigation only starts from the 30th of May. Otherwise, you are investigating with, while you are in the 2813 mode. And whatever exercise you are undertaking at 2813 determines whether or not you should investigate in the first place. So you can't have a full-blown investigation in 2813.
It's not a full-blown
Okay.
investigation.
Now, we know that you came to the conclusion that we must investigate on the 30th of May as per the authorization. I don't know if this speaks to the efficiencies of IDAC. By the 26th of June, 2025, less than a month later, after you authorized the actual investigation, that list of people was arrested and appearing before court. So your investigation actually took exactly 3 weeks, not more. What did that investigation unearth that was already not in your files by the 30th of May?
The investigations out of that preparatory investigation would have commenced after the 6th of December 2024.
Yes.
And I do hear what you say, Council, but in terms of the preparatory investigation, I read it with Section 7.3 of the Act that says an investigating director shall be assisted in the exercise of his or her powers and the performance of his or her functions or duties, and lists those people. So it is not the investigating director herself who conducts the preparatory investigation. And the persons designated thereto conduct the investigation on behalf of the investigating director. We go back to what is allowed in terms of Section 28 as an investigative tool. They are allowed to interview witnesses. They are allowed to obtain subpoena and obtain documents, etc. And that is what had happened. So by the time we get to, if I can just take a moment,
Yes.
I'm just feeling slightly lightheaded.
Take a moment.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. So by the time we get to the 30th of May, there would have been investigations done. What the test is, on the 30th of May, in the presentation of the Section 28 application, is a summation of everything obtained to date. Does it now make or create that reasonable suspicion we say was not there in the initial phase? And if it therefore fulfills that requirement, we can then authorize the full-blown investigation.
Okay.
It doesn't mean, may I continue? It doesn't mean that whatever investigation was done in the 2813 process falls away and something new starts with the 28-1. Sorry, Commissioner.
Sorry, finish. You can finish, sir.
No,
that
it's
you
okay.
finished. Okay. Can I just clear my confusion? And maybe I should have done these sentences earlier. At page 3283 of the same file, you authorize a section 2813 on the 6th of December, 2024. And then at page 3300, you authorize a section 28(1)A, preparatory investigation. You say to conduct a preparatory investigation in terms of 28(1)A, and this is on the 30th of May, 2025. Is it, because in both letters, you speak, on the one you speak of a preparatory investigation in May 2025. You see where I'm reading? At 3300?
That word preparatory is not, I have decided to conduct an investigation in terms of Section 28(1)A. It's not preparatory anymore, Commissioner.
My copy reads to conduct a preparatory.
No, I'm not disputing your copy. I'm saying it should not read preparatory because it is a Section 28(1)A.
It is now a full-blown.
It is a full-blown investigation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I accept that. Now, I want to know what investigations were conducted between the 30th of May and the 26th of June when they were arrested. Because only then, as of the 30th of May, full-blown investigations are authorized.
I would have to find out in the break and come back to you about
Okay,
what all
please
was
do.
done, because I can't list what was done after the 30th of May.
And that date is
And I know
key.
it needs an answer.
That date is key because there is a reason why the statute distinguishes between preparatory investigations and actual investigations and provides that you may not do investigations unless duly authorized. You grant the authorization.
That
And
is-
Section 28 sub 13 allows you to conduct preparatory investigations to enable you to determine whether or not you should authorize. Why I say it's important, it appears to me, and perhaps I'm looking at it wrong, that IDAC used the mechanics of Section 2813 to conduct a full-blown investigation, which would render it wholly unauthorized. And then to post facto grant the authorization on the 30th of May, which opened the way for applying for arrest warrants and actually arresting them. So no investigation was conducted after the 30th of May. It was all before the 30th of May. And that has got to be because there are benefits to hiding under the cover of a preliminary investigation, conduct a full-blown investigation, cure that defect by a late authorization, and in less than 4 weeks, be ready to arrest. It's quite curious that you end there. Because if that's how it happens, I'll applaud the efficiencies within IDAC.
I will come back with
Thank you.
the response, commissioners, if that is fine.
Chair, while we await the responses, might this then be an opportune time to take the lunch adjournment? Because I want to finish this point. Thank you.
Yes, we will.